So I'm still not sure whether or not we got Helena or Helena in the first episode. So we're on episode 2, season 2 of Severance. And so much has happened, we have to talk about it, but spoilers if you aren't up to date. I need to start this review by saying this is one of the most cinematic episodes that I've seen on television. From the opening shot of Milkshake just sitting in that blue light, to that tracking shot of Helly as she goes to the office. They're also incredibly beautiful, color corrected, and they train your eye to kind of focus in on what's important. And in some cases, the director is giving us answers without telling us. I know that Milkshake is supposed to be somewhat of a villain. He's at least, an antagonist. But I had to tip my hat off to him because he was the hardest working man in this episode. Arguably the show, because you're telling me in 48 hours he got a creative team to make that newspaper. And I'm talking about edits, Photoshop, and redacted. He fired 2 members, hired 2 members from another department and got them transferred, and also got an international transfer. He was able to get 3 baskets together. And then 2 days later, he had to rehire the people that he just fired. Man is hardworking. I need us all to really pay attention to the way that Milkshake fired each member of the team. Because with Irvin, he met him with kindness, telling him about his innie. It's clear to me that Milkshake understands that Irvin values who his innie is. And just like we see inside the Lumen office, Milkshake is weaponizing that information to deliver something or to garner a response that he wants. Now for Dylan, we definitely got insight as to why he chose to be severed. Unlike Mark and Irving, he has a family. He's not alone. But it's clear he has money issues and not that many skills. And this is an avenue for him to make money. Now, what I found most interesting about that firing sequence was the fact that Milkshake was only truly honest with Mark S. We see during the meeting that Helly has with the board, he is imperative for some project called Cold Harbor. And it's clear with, Kobelvik's interest in Mark and things like that, that Mark is the key to something. But this is just straight out confirmation. Man, Helena is a really hateful woman. There's some moments in the first season that I felt like I really respected her as a person, but I'm starting to see that she is just as soulless as the rest of the Egans. That being said, seeing how Helena reacted to everything was very alarming for me. It made me like her less. I was certain that her whole thing was impressing her family and trying to do things to continue their legacy, but it's clear that she believes in whatever her family is pushing forward, and she is integral in helping that movement. This is not a case of her being misunderstood. She's down with it. I love that they kept it ambiguous on whether or not Helena is the one that we saw in the first episode. Because yes, they do say during the meeting we need Helly R, but that doesn't mean that Helly R exactly is the one that came in. And then to end it with just the doors closing and not actually show her being severed, I think is a hint that yes, Helly R is coming, but it's not the Helly R that we know. Obviously, there is a world where Helly R is just embarrassed and afraid to say that she's an Egan, but I like to think that Helly R is not that type of person. And there were just so many clues in that lie to me that showed that this was Helena. Not just the mistake of her saying a night gardener, because obviously it's a lie, but where would she get the name of a band? They don't know information like that. And honestly, just the concept of running into a gardener, I feel like is some rich people shit. Like, why would she pick that service worker unless she is a rich woman and that's just the type of service worker she interacts with frequently, at least outside her window? Time will tell. Now we got to talk about Mark's sister because I believe she's going to be the actual whistleblower. Remember, she is the one who interacted with the pregnant woman that I'm sure she knows was severed. But she's the one actually pushing Mark to investigate Gemma, who Kobelvik more than certainly confirmed is still alive or involved. I know some people are going to be upset with Mark for not wanting to know the truth, but you have to understand how painful it is for him to rehash it, particularly since he said he saw her body, which I think confirms that there's some sort of cloning going on. And I feel like for some reason Bert and Irvin are involved with the cloning and they're suspicious of what's going on. I'm not gonna hold you, even though it seemed ominous, Bert kind of peeking in on Irving, I really feel like it's their love peeking through, and at one point maybe they did have a relationship on the outside. Or both of them are getting bleeding memories into their psyche, and that's pulling in their connection. But one thing is clear, Irving is in on some type of resistance, and that's why he was so comfortable lying with Milkshake, asking Milkshake like what's going on, and that mysterious call going to outside to anyone, I'm not quite sure, confirming like shit is getting real, we need to lock in. Finally, Kovalvik is just such a weirdo. I love it. I'm not quite sure whether or not she took that job, but it's so clear that she doesn't really know how to interact with people. And I think that kind of hints to her maybe being perpetually in the severed form. So maybe she doesn't have any real home training. She wasn't raised by people, right? She was born in that office. When she got pressed about Gemma, she could have just denied it. She could have just been like, I don't have time, anything like that. But she doesn't have the skills to do so. So she just was weird and drove off. I know that we got a lot of answers, or seemingly we got a lot of answers in these episodes, but I'm not quite sure. We're just gonna have to find out next week. Until then, I absolutely love this episode. I'm gonna go ahead and give it 5 out of 5 Frankie Flame. But tell me, what are your thoughts and theories? Let me know in my comments below. And until next time, have a fantastic week, my friends.